This is perhaps the most insane endgame study I've ever seen. In many ways, it exemplifies the philosophical reasons why I love chess, which is the beauty of coordination and harmony. If you're a bent-fangled fan like myself, two bishops, what else? Bishop to g7 is the only move. Now, black has two options, king a2 and e5. If the king goes to a2, we have a brilliant move, which is to sack the bishop. Why? The idea is to disrupt the coordination between this rook and the pawn. This move is called an interposing move, to interpose the rook and the pawn. So if the rook takes, a sample line could be rook takes on d5, king to d1. Now, the rook can't slide across to stop our pawn because his pawn is in the way, and the rook can't go backwards as well because we captured the rook. So this bishop is untouchable, and if the king goes elsewhere, then we just promote our pawn and win. So black can't do that. So the only move for black to continue the game or to continue the fight is with e5. On e5, we take the pawn anyways. The king goes to a2, and now this is why I love chess. In every single position, the possibilities change. What works on the previous move isn't necessarily going to work in this current move. So the position, a single king move has changed the dynamics of the position. Now bishop d5 doesn't work anymore because on bishop d5, rook takes d5. Now our bishop is hanging. In the previous line, there was a pawn there and our bishop was there. Now the bishop is just hanging and we lose. However, we have a resource, which is we sacrifice the other bishop, bishop d6. Well, now what's the idea behind this move? If rook takes, once again, we hide underneath the pawn, and the rook can't step across, because if the rook steps across, our bishop goes to d5 with a skewer on the king and the rook. So for example, rook e6, bishop d5, and we win the game. So that's not possible, but black has a way to complicate and to disrupt our coordination with getting a new queen with check. Well, we take the queen, they take our bishop with check. What to do now? We've got one move, and you might be thinking, oh, it's king c2, but not king c2. Remember what I said in the previous move? In chess, every single move changes the dynamics of the position. Now if we go king c2, rook e6, thinking, oh, it's the same line, isn't it the same line? We check and win the rook. Well, not quite, because why? Now black has king a1, and if we take the rook, it's stalemate. That's why in this position, the only move to win the game is to sacrifice the other bishop again. Now the idea is, if rook takes, king e2, and we get a queen, and we should win the game with best play.